Hi there, lovely souls. Welcome back to the Living Simply channel, a high vibe safe space where we speak about all things spirituality, esotericism, and self-transformation. Today, I'm going to share with you the occult meaning of the Triquetra symbol, something that you probably saw on numerous pop culture references, from Thor's hammer to the Book of Shadow in the TV show Charmed, which I was literally obsessed with as a child, or even the German Netflix TV show Dark, which, by the way, is jaw-dropping and mind-blowing. I highly recommend it. Before we begin, I would love to remind you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, hit the notification bell to stay tuned for my upcoming episodes, and subscribe to my monthly newsletter where I share the astrological forecast of the month ahead, exclusive spiritual resources, as well as some free offerings. The link is in the description box, make sure to check it out. Okay, so the Triquetra or the Trinity Knot, from the Latin adjective triquetrus or three-cornered, is a triangular symbol composed of three interlaced arcs, one looking up, one looking to the right, and the other to the left. And a triquetra symbol is something that has a circle around it, and we'll speak about what this added circle means later on in the episode. Overall, the triquetra symbol is made of three intersecting vesica Pisces. Another important symbol that I mentioned in my video about the Pythagorean Brotherhood, as it is a very important symbol to the Pythagorean mystery school. In a nutshell, the vesica Pisces is the shape created by the intersection of two circles, two congruent circles, and these represent the divine feminine and the divine masculine coming together. I will dedicate a future video to this symbol, so I won't go in much details now. But all I have to say is that the symbolic meaning of the vesica Pisces represents balance and creation. So let's talk about the origins of this symbol now. The Triple Knot can be dated as far back as the Iron Age, and it has existed worldwide and in many variations for thousands of years in multiple cultures, from Anatolia, Persia, India, or even the Americas. But historically, it has been specifically associated with the Celts and sometimes the rest of the Northern European civilizations, like the Germanic civilization. As you already know, in this podcast, we like to dive deep into the history of the symbol to understand its cultural and spiritual use better. So to do that, we first need to define Celtic people. If you're wondering who the Celts are, movies and TV shows like The King Arthur, Merlin, or Asterix and Obelix may ring a bell. These people were seen as barbarous, and they probably were, but they had a very rich culture and spiritual pantheon with a rich knowledge of nature and the cosmos. The Celts are all the tribes who were the original inhabitants of Central Europe, from Britain, Ireland to France or even northern Spain. And their culture is believed to have started to evolve as early as 1200 before Christ. So their existence, goes way back. And it was first documented, their existence was first documented in the 7th century before Christ by the Roman Empire, who viewed them, of course, as bloodthirsty savages and barbarians. Thus, their portrayal as these barbarous people who have no law and who kind of did as they pleased on earth, which of course was not the case. It's just the view, the Roman view of everyone who did not match their level of civilization according to them, according to their definition of it. Now let's talk about the spirituality of the Celts. The Druids were the spiritual leaders of these people, and they acted as shamans, as teachers and gurus. In fact, the Celts practiced a polytheistic religion, so they were pagan, and they had multiple gods and goddesses. Their pantheon was very rich, and some of them still are very important to neo-pagans or Wiccans, as an example. Speaking of the spirituality of the Celts is very fascinating to me. I really love to read about Celtic spirituality, but for the sake of the video, I'll speak about one specific aspect: triplicity. Triplicity was a common theme in the Celtic cosmology, with a large portion of their deities being threefold. So this idea of threes, of trios, really fascinated them a lot. Birth, life and death, past, present and future, earth, sea and sky, everything of importance to the Celts seemed to come in threes and was interconnected or part of a continuum. The most important figure that represented this triplicity to the Celts is the triple goddess, which gave birth to yet another symbol, another very famous symbol actually, the triple moon. And comment down below if you'd love an episode on this beautiful symbol, because I really would love to speak more about it in the future. When Christianity arrived through the Roman Empire, many Celtic traditions were incorporated to the new religion. So European Christians took the Triquetra and used it as a symbol of the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I think it is also important for me to mention that the Triquetra is made of what we call a Celtic knot. These knots are complete loops that have no start and no finish, because if you were to create or draw a Celtic knot, you would have, one start point and eventually finish back where you started, which symbolizes how life and eternity are interconnected. This is how the Celts view these knots, just an infinity of interconnectedness constantly playing out and feeding on itself. And this was very important to the Celts, not just as an art or a way to decorate their stuff, but also as a representation of love. So if you watched TV shows like Vikings, or have, like me, the desire to someday get married under a willow tree, you know that hand fasting, also called the lover's knot, is still common to this day, and that this knot acts as a binder between two souls, two destinies, representing the longevity and continuity of their love. Okay, so now that we've looked at all the cultural background behind this symbol, behind the Triquetra, let's circle back to our main question. What does the Triquetra mean? First, it goes without saying that understanding what the Trinity and the triangle mean esoterically is highly important to grasp what the Triquetra means. Lucky for you, the first episode of this podcast was all about the meaning of the circle, the square, and guess what? The triangle. So make sure to pause this video and go check that first episode out if you haven't yet. If you watch that video, you'll also understand more easily why having a circle around the Triquetra symbolizes the unity of these three components. The circle that is often interlaced with the Triquetra represents the power of three. Not just the power of Piper, Paige, or Phoebe, that's not what I'm speaking about, but the power of the various aspects of life represented by the three corners of this symbol. And these three corners represent multi-layered concepts. The three stages of the moon, or of womanhood, the maiden, the mother, and the crow. The 3 degrees of the evolution of existence of life, childhood, adulthood, and old age. The 3 Celtic manifestations of the divine, which are wisdom, love, and strength. The 3 ways of being human, body, soul, and spirit, and the 3 stages of life as well, birth, life, and death. And this list goes on and on, but you get the idea. In the earlier Druid and Celtic paradigm, the symbol takes on a more telluric or earthy aspect, indicative of the 3 predominant natural forces to the Celts, which are earth, air, and water. And furthermore, since the 3 elements of the Triquetra are closely interconnected, They must not be considered as separate elements, but as three different aspects of a single entity, the whole, which is often represented by the circle. So the intertwining of the Triquetra symbol reminds us that the body, the soul, and the spirit, or the maiden, the mother, and the crow, childhood, adulthood, and old age, are all inextricably linked together. We cannot separate one from another. You cannot have life without death, without birth. You cannot have adulthood without having a childhood and an old age as well, and vice versa. So the moment we neglect one of these three components, we harm the other two. So if you ever stumble across the symbol who has been evolving for hundreds or even thousands of years, remember that you are part of an interconnected whole where your physical, your mental, and your spiritual well-being are all equally important, and where you can truly seek balance between whichever three aspects within you that you want to focus on. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to receive a notification when the new episode of the podcast comes out. If you have ideas of symbols that you would love me to review, please comment those down below. And on this note, I wish you a blessed day. Bye bye.